Hey guys, Chicago injury lawyer Scott DeSalvo here, and in today's video I want to talk to you about how to make lemonade from lemons. Okay, so there's two cases that came to mind for this video. One of the guys' cases I was working on, and then the other lady's case I just talked to her son about. So what do I mean by turning lemons into lemonade? Well, as I've discussed in a lot of my other videos, every lawyer would prefer to have, multi-million dollar cases, every one of their cases, gigantic multi-million dollar cases. And it's not hard to understand why, because the lawyer gets paid on a percentage of what they win for you, right? So if they're handling, massive cases, which I do handle, but, the truth is that out of 100 injury cases, thank God, maybe one of them is a really, really big case. And then there's a handful of, maybe like a broken leg or a bad back, a disc herniation or something like that. And then the rest of them, thank goodness, don't involve surgery, aren't so serious. And so a lot of times, the guy who called me yesterday about his mom basically said, look, my mom quit her job about a month ago, and we're trying to decide what to do. They treated her terribly. They basically pushed her out the door, and she had hurt herself twice. They didn't want to report it to their workers' comp insurance, and she went to the doctor, and one of them involved an injury that happened years and years ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, and she never did anything about it. But one of them is more recent, but it's a smaller injury. She's been to the doctor a few times. It doesn't require surgery. It's still an injury. And so, what I told the guy is this. When you hire a personal injury lawyer, a lot of times earlier on in the case, I don't know whether it's going to be a giant case or a small one. But when you hire me later in the process and the medical treatment's done and we know it's a small case, insurance companies settle cases and offer big money on cases they're afraid, where they're afraid of what you might get in front of a jury. And the only thing that makes them afraid is the risk of a giant verdict. And then they're willing to come to the settlement table and offer a lot of money. But this guy basically was like, is it even going to be worth it to do it? Is she going to put any money in her pocket? Is it all a waste of time? And what I told him is, look, I love the bigger cases, obviously. Without the bigger cases, my law practice wouldn't be what it is today. So thank you for all the cases you refer me. And all the people you send my way, I really appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you. But, if I can help somebody with a small case, I'm going to do it. If I can put some money in their pocket on a smaller case, I'm going to do it. Because that's what I do. That's the career I've chosen. I've chosen to represent injured people. Now, here's the good news. Once I sign up your case, me and my staff do all the work. So, when you're doing the analysis of, it's not that big a case, is it worth it? Should I even call a lawyer? The math on that is something like 80% or over of my cases settle. So the vast likelihood is that we're going to get you money on the case, and you're not going to have to do very much to get the money. My staff does all the work, we get the offer for you, and we settle the case for you, right? So, is it worth it? Well, is it worth it to maybe talk to the lawyer for a half hour, sign the papers, and then at some point, put a couple $1,000s in your pocket on a case that you don't really care that much about? Probably it's worth it. But, that's up to each individual. For some people, it's a matter of principle. It's not about the $2,000. It's the fact that they want the wrongdoer to account for what they did. And so that's what I think is going on with this gentleman and his mother. They're so outraged and angry at the mother's treatment at this employer that they're considering moving forward with that. So then the other guy I talked to is a car accident case. And, initially we were concerned that it might be a more serious injury case because of the symptoms he was having. But ultimately it worked out. His course of treatment was really short. He literally did about 4 weeks of physical therapy, and, it got him back to where it was. Now, that's one of those cases I was talking about before. Sometimes the case is really big, or it starts out, you're not sure. 6 months later, the guy has been ordered to have surgery. Now it's a substantial case, right? Well, in this guy's case, I was very happy to help him. I called him up to see how he was doing, and I said, hey, are you still treating? What's going on there? Are you losing any time from work? My standard check-in with people to see how they're doing. I did this one, but usually my team helps me with these phone calls because I've got a million phone calls every day. And when they check in with you, they want to know, are you done going to the doctor? If so, we need a list of all your medical providers. And then the third thing is, did you lose any time from work, and do you want to make a wage loss claim? Which you're entitled to. If you lost time from work, this guy's case was a third party. It was a car crash case. You have a right to make a claim for the time you lost from work. Even if you took vacation time to rehabilitate and they paid you for it, arguably you can make a claim because you're losing your vacation time through no fault of your own, right? So, I spoke to the gentleman, and he said, thank God I got better quickly. You probably don't even want to do the case anymore. It's I understand if you don't want to do the case. I'm like, well, look, we're this far into it. There's no, it's a strong liability case, meaning it's pretty clear the other side ran into you and you're not really at fault. So thank God you got better in about a month or 5 weeks. So we'll get the medical together. It'll be an easy demand letter for me to write, an easy medical summary for us to prepare for you, and we'll send it out and we'll see what we can do. Now, in that case, we were able to settle it, but it was against a really crummy insurance company. So I called the guy back and I told him, look, with this insurance company, it's surprising that they made any offer at all before filing a lawsuit. And it goes back to what I was saying before. If you don't have giant damages, we can file a lawsuit and litigate it, but when we get in front of the jury, 4 weeks of treatment and never going back to the doctor, 5 weeks of treatment, never going back to the doctor, no one's ever getting rich off that. And by negotiating with his doctors, I was able to put an amount of money in his pocket that he was happy with. And he understood. He's like, yeah, I don't want you to make me come down for a deposition and answer a bunch of questions and go through a jury trial and all this stuff for a case. If there's, money and you can put some money in my pocket, I'm happy to settle. And he was satisfied and he was happy. And I was happy to help him, right? And now, look, could I stay in business if all my cases were like that? Probably not. It would be a real struggle. Thank goodness for the bigger cases. But my point is, I'm in the business to help people. And if the case is huge, obviously, it actually, on balance, makes me sad that you have that situation in your life. And it just makes me fight harder for you. But if it's a smaller injury, I'm glad for you on the human level, because it means you didn't get hurt that bad. It means you get back to normal life faster. Because everything that we enjoy in life can be gone in the blink of an eye. So, I'll tell you about a third case. This is a case where it's an out-of-state case. The client's, it's a contested The liability is not great. In other words, there's an argument to be made that our driver is partially at fault. It's against a crummy insurance company, and the injured people just, one of them went to the doctor twice, and the other one went to the doctor on and off. So there's huge gaps between visits, and they're not really following doctor's advice. And, it was early on in the process, and we checked in with them, and we talked to one of them, and they said, I was just talking to, the other person in the car, and we're thinking about just dropping the claim because we didn't really go to the doctor, and, we're feeling better, and we don't want to cause a problem. We don't want to cause a fuss. I'm like, very early in the process, they don't want to do the case. And I just said, look, if you want to do the case, we'll do the case for you. But if you don't want to do the case, if you want to just close it out, I don't have very much time and money wrapped up in your case. Maybe a few hours, maybe a couple $100. But if you really don't want to, do it, these are nice people. These people weren't doing it. Like, I've had clients in the past who were a little shady, and they thought I was going to represent them throughout the case. And then right at the end, after I send the demand letter, which the demand letter is what we send to the insurance company to start negotiation to settle your case. They thought that they could fire me after I send the demand letter, and then they'll call the insurance company, settle it, get a check, and then not pay anybody. If the doctors have liens, they don't want to pay the doctors. I have an attorney's lien, they don't want to pay me. They thought they were going to get all the benefit of doctors, get all the benefit of an attorney, and then fire the attorney, collect the paycheck. And it doesn't work that way. The insurance company won't release a check without my name and the doctor's names on it to an individual. So, this wasn't that kind of situation. These were just nice people who didn't go to the doctor very much and didn't really want to participate in litigation. So they wanted to drop it. I couldn't talk them out of it. I guess I'm at peace with it. But again, honestly, the question of is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it. We do all the work. Most of the cases, I call the client, or I have one of my staff call the client, and they say, hey, I call with them on the money to talk about the money. I always do. And, we get it wrapped up and you get a check, and usually it's not very much work for you at all. It's a couple of phone calls where we check in with you. We need a complete list of your medical providers and stuff like that to order it all. But we do all the legwork. We prepare the demand. We do the negotiation. And in the vast majority of these kinds of cases, I call them lemons in jest because they're not big cases. They're cases that got some warts. But we're able to turn them into lemonade, and we do all the squeezing. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. Is it worth it? Yeah, I think it's worth it for an injured person. Of course, consultations are always free, and I'm always available for a consultation. You can call me any day, any night, any time of the day, night or day, any day of the year. Could be Christmas, could be New Year's, could be middle of the night at 3 a.m., could be 3 in the afternoon. Doesn't matter when. That's because I have a call center set up where people answer the phone, and they answer the phone the way I train them to, and they collect your information, and then they send it to me immediately. And pretty much, unless I'm in court, or unless I'm trying a case, or unless I'm in the middle of a deposition, as soon as the message comes in, either I or somebody on my team will give you a call and talk to you about your case. We answer your questions. It's usually me, but sometimes if I'm busy, I'll have one of my girls call you just to touch base with you so you know we didn't forget about you. And, we collect your info, we talk to you, we get the info, We answer your questions, and then, most of the time I end up calling anybody anyway, just because, usually injured people want to talk to the lawyer. But if it's a slam dunk and one of my girls comes to me and shows me the notes that they took, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely a case. Sign them up. If they want to talk to me, I'm happy to talk to them, but that's definitely a case. We can definitely help them. So that's usually a short call, or it can be a longer call if you want to tell your story or you have a bunch of questions that you need answered. That's okay too, even if you don't have a case. That's what's meant by free and no obligation. So 312-500-4500. If you're not ready to talk to a lawyer, I've got some cool things on my website, like the case cash calculator. Tells you what your case might be worth. And the Do I Have a Good Case calculator, same thing. Both of those calculators, literally you answer about 6 multiple choice questions. 6 or 7 multiple choice questions. In 10 or 15 seconds you have an answer about whether you might have a good case or a case that has some challenges, or what the case might be worth. No obligation, no attorney to talk to. Free tools for you right on my website. You can check them out, link in the description. If you enjoy my videos and you enjoy the advice I give you, it helps you at all, if you would give me a 5-star review on Google, it would really help me. There's a link in the description. You just cut and paste that into your web page, into any open web page or web tab. Go there, click 5 stars, say a kind word, hit submit. It takes you 5 seconds, but it is such a nice favor to me, such a nice thing to do. I'd really appreciate it. So I hope you and your family are doing well. Thank you so much for watching. And if I can ever be of assistance to you or anyone you know who's been involved in an accident or anything like that, please do not hesitate to give me a call. 312-500-4500. Take care.